Hi, good evening, guys. My name is MARFANI. We have been discussing about some different kind of subject for last 2 days. Day before yesterday, we discussed about Warren Buffett, about economy. Yesterday, we talked about motivation. Today, we are going to go into education, economy, and education. These are my most pet subject. My background is also linked with these two subjects. Today, we are going to talk about 10 E's of education. Excellent and engage and explore and employability, like this. 10 E's. 5 E's are for teachers, 5 E's are for students. For teachers, Dr. Roger Bybee has created this model, emphasizing teachers how to teach result oriented teaching, how to know, how to evaluate a student, how to get a student engaged in education, how to ask them questions, how to motivate them, how to help them to attain education and retain it. Both. Second five, E's are for students. And these five models are created by Dr. Beverley Jabrack. These five models emphasize the students. Why do we get education? What is the purpose and the motive behind getting education? To understand, to understand why we have been spilling our guts for education, why we are shedding our blood and sweat for education. What is the purpose behind getting education? Whole purpose. Whole purpose Beverly has explained in these 5 E's. So first, we are going to talk about first 5 E's by Dr. Roger Bybee, which are for teachers. And in the next video, perhaps tomorrow, we're going to talk about the rest of the 5. Now, education is very precise science. It is not haphazard. It is to the point, on the par, and that is the way in Western country the teachers teach their students. They make them imbibe education. They make them how to think about education. They teach them how to think about education, and they teach them to retain education and attain. Unfortunately, in our India, what happens is that teacher does not have any kind of guiding hand or any kind of guidelines. So every teacher teach the student the way he or she likes. Approach of the student over here and approach of the student in the West is different. Approach of the teacher over here in the West is also different. And that is why we all salivate to get education in the West, because education has purpose, education has direction, education has a meaning, education has objective, destination, and a goal. Over here, education is only haphazard, pointless, aimless, and hopeless. So these are the 5 E's that Dr. Roger has created for the teachers. Number 1 is engage. Number 2, explain. Number 3, explore. Number 4, elaborate. Number 5, evaluate. Everywhere in Western world, teachers follow these guidelines, and students also follow and imbibe the same guidelines. And that is why education actually becomes a successful endeavor. Now we are going to indulge in our first point, that is engage. It is the first and foremost responsibility of every teacher to inspire a student to engage in the educational pedagogical activities. What is going on in the class? A student must understand, and the teacher must help them to understand. Teacher must not leave the student in lurch, in the ignorance. There should not be only only monologue, the teacher speaks and nobody listens. But it should be a dialogue, the teacher and the students. Both should carry out discussion, question, queries, Q&A about education, and that is the job of the teacher first and foremost. A vital job of the teachers is to engage every student in the process of learning, and not only go into the class, do your duty, do the formality, come back without having any kind of surety or confidence in you whether your students have imbibed anything at all or not. Now we are going to delve into second point, that is explore. Exploring is the most important part of learning. This is the gut of, I think, learning. If you don't explore what you have learned, if you don't actually fall back into your learning, if you don't indulge in your learning, and if you don't delve deep, whatever you have learned in the class, whatever the teacher has actually taught you, whether you have imbibed it or not, whether you have understood it or not, that is called exploring. Every teacher must motivate, according to Dr. Roger Bybee, that students should be able, capable, and viable to explore every word, every sentence, every para, and a paragraph of education the teacher has taught them, imbibed them, or education will backfire. Otherwise, definitely education is going to backfire and misfire on our face. And that has been happening. We have been noticing this thing is happening, that after graduate and postgraduate, most of the students do not have any kind of clue about what they have accumulated, imbibed during last 5 years. Now we are moving into our third point, that is explain. Now, it is not about teacher to explain. Teacher already explains everything without saying it. We don't have to mention it. But here we are talking about teachers must coax and cajole, explain, encourage them to explain every single thing that they have imbibed, they have learned during the course of time. Students should get up. Students should become a teacher for the day and explain every single thing about the lesson, about the chapter, about the subject, and whatever the teacher has already covered. Means this is the paramount part of pedagogy. Paramount part of pedagogy, because if teachers do not force the students to explain whatever they have been collecting or gathering sitting on the bench, and if the student cannot explain, then it is absolutely vain effort. It is not useful, it is redundant efforts by both teachers as well as students, and it is a waste of time, energy, efforts, everything. Now, fourth point we are going to immerse into is elaboration. Elaborate means explain everything in detail. Just now, the last point was explain. So, student has already explained. But whatever teacher has explained, him or her, if student also explains the same thing, that is seldom enough. That is seldom enough. But elaboration means students must also add something from their psyche, soul, and sanctorum in whatever the teacher has explained. Add something in there and elaborate the point that teacher has already elaborated. Something from students' side, the teacher wants to know. Teacher is celebrating to know, or teacher is trying to delve deep into the psyche and the soul and the sanctorum of the students, whether they have understood every single thing in the proper order, in proper quantity and quality, to elaborate the knowledge. That is important part of the learning. Okay, now we are going to venture in our fifth point, that is evaluation. Every single thing we evaluate. We buy shoes, clothes, we buy car, two-wheeler, we evaluate the function, we evaluate the performance, we will evaluate P-DUC. P-DUC means it's priceability, durability, utility, and quality. This is called P-DUC. We evaluate every single thing. Now, teachers should encourage the students to evaluate whatever they have learned in the class, whether the education that they have imbibed is useful, essential, quintessential, it is going to help them in the future. It is a world-class education. It is going to give you employability. It is going to give you grip on the ignorance. It is going to make you able, capable, and viable in the society. So evaluate. And if your evaluation is satisfactory, you are complacent, totally 100% complacent. After evaluation, then and then you should be sure that your education is going to help you in the future. Otherwise, education is going to backfire and misfire right on our face. So friends, today we have covered Edu Model by Roger Bybee, 5 points. 5 points which are purported for the teachers. Teachers must learn these 5 points, and accordingly, they must impart education to their inspiring students. Tomorrow we are going to cover next 5 points by Beverley. These 5 points that we are going to discuss in the next video are meant for students. Let them know, imbibe the lesson, why do we need education? So, we're going to leave now. I thank you very much for your rapt attention. Take care of yourself, and God bless everyone.